Now, if you're a creator and you're still guessing your prices, there's one framework you should be using every single time you talk to a brand. And I call it the creator pricing ladder. Because once you understand this ladder, pricing stops becoming emotional and random, becomes structured, repeatable, and much easier to justify. So I'm Gordon Glenister, and I've spent years working with brands and creators, running campaigns, negotiating fees, and seeing both sides of the conversation. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 6 levels of the creator pricing ladder. So let's now start at the bottom of the ladder, which is level 1, foundation, and why pricing matters more than you think. Now, before we touch any numbers, you need to understand why your price is not just a number, it's a signal. So let's now investigate the creator pricing ladder 1. Brands almost never tell you their full budget. So if you undercharge, they will just happily say yes because it saves them money. But if you throw out a high number with no logic behind it, you absolutely risk losing the deal. So pricing is a balance between 4 things: your real value, industry norms, the brand's budget, and the rights they want over your content. Because when you get that balance right, a few things start to happen. You can do fewer projects and definitely earn more money. You also stop burning out for tiny fees. You tend to also attract brands that actually respect creators as partners and not just cheap production. So level 2 is about the base rate. This is the value of the content itself. And the base rate is simply the starting point. It is what you charge to plan, to film, and to edit the content itself before any usage, licensing, or extras. Maybe you want to think of it as a payment for your time, your skill, your creativity, and your production effort. Now, your base rate depends on things like your niche and your audience, how strong your content quality is, your experience and your track record, how long the project will take, how many deliverables are included, and so on. Here are some of the realistic ranges that you can use as reference. So for UGC video of maybe between 15 and 30 seconds, you could probably charge between £100 and £300. UGC video with scripting and editing, £250 to £500. A sponsored Instagram reel between £150 to £600. A sponsored TikTok video between £150 and £500. And then a YouTube integration of between 60 and 90 seconds, anywhere between £300 and £1,000. These are not ceilings, they're just starting points. So this is really now where we move to level 3, which is usage rights. And usage rights is how the brand can use your content. So usage is one of the most misunderstood parts of pricing. It is also where a lot of creators quietly lose thousands of pounds. Usage is not about what you create, it's about what the brand can do with it after you deliver it. So let's have a look at some examples. So is the content only for organic posting on their social channels? Will they run it as part of a paid ads campaign? Will they use it on their website? Is it for a regional campaign or potentially for a global one? Is the usage for 30 days, for 3 months, for 6 months, or indeed a year? Because anytime a brand wants paid usage, your fee should go up. Because now your content is an asset and they're going to use it to drive revenue, not just create pretty posts. The bigger the brand and the broader the usage, the higher that fee should be. In fact, what I would do is think of usage as renting out your work. The longer they rent it and the more places they use it, the more they should pay. So now let's look at level 4, which is exclusivity. And that's the cost of saying no to competitors. Because exclusivity is not about what you do, it's also about what you're no longer allowed to do. So for example, if a skincare brand hires you and says you cannot work with any other skincare brand for 3 months, then that is a block on your future income. And that absolutely has a price and a value. If you agree to exclusivity without charging for it, you are giving them a free monopoly on your image and influence. So what I've done is I've put together some simple exclusivity ranges. So for example, 30 days exclusivity, you could add anywhere between £150 and £300. 90 days exclusivity, add between £400 and £800. 6 months exclusivity, anywhere between £800 and £1,500, and so on. Now, if the niche is crowded and the brand is a major player, you can absolutely go higher, especially if your content is very tied to this specific category. So the key idea is this: the more they restrict your opportunities, the more you should charge to make that restriction worth it. Now let's move to level 5. Level 5 is all about the add-ons, monetizing the extras you already do. Because most creators unbelievably already do loads of extra things for brands. And they just forget to charge for it, or they think that it's going to help them win the deal. So add-ons are all the small pieces that sit around the main video. For example, extra hooks and opening lines, multiple formats such as 16:9, 9:16 and 1:1, providing raw footage, script writing, thumbnails, rush delivery, alternative versions or extra edits, which is a common problem, particularly if you're going to go and have to go back out to a location. Different voiceover takes. Now all of these are services, and services have prices. So let's now look at the core formula. The base rate plus usage plus exclusivity plus add-ons equal total fee. But there is still one more level on the pricing ladder, and that's where a lot of your power sits. This is now level 6, positioning, negotiation and boundaries. So you can have the perfect numbers, but if you present them badly, you will still struggle. So level 6 is where you turn your structure into confident communication. So first of all, when a brand asks for your rates, do not send a random price list with no context. You want to understand the scope before you quote, because you can reply with something as simple as this: thanks so much for reaching out. Would love to learn more about this campaign. Now, before I send over a quote, could you just share the deliverables that you're looking at, the usage, the length, the platforms, and any exclusivity requirements, and specifically your deadlines? You might like to also ask them about examples of the content style that you have in mind. And then you might say, once I have that, I can put together an accurate rate for you. And this does two important things. It stops you from undercharging, and it positions you as a professional who prices based on a specific and clear brief, not merely on guesswork. Then, of course, comes negotiation. And negotiation is normal. Brands expect it. And you do not need to be aggressive, you just need to be clear. So here are a few suggestions and how you might like to respond. When their budget is lower than your normal rate, you can say something like, thanks for sharing the budget. My usual rate for this type of deliverable is X. If we need to stay within your budget, we can adjust by removing the paid usage or the exclusivity or some of the add-ons. So that's one way of looking at it. Of course, there are some red flags that you need to be aware of. Situations where the right move is to either walk away or raise your fee. For example, they tell you that there is no budget, but the exposure will be amazing. They demand unlimited usage with no extra payment. They want a year of exclusivity and refuse to pay for it. They insist your content will go viral, so the fee should be low. They ask for raw files without mentioning an additional fee. They say they cannot pay now, but maybe they will pay in the future. Because exposure does not pay rent, respect does. And you do not need to be rude, you just simply need to remember that saying no to the wrong projects is what creates room for the right ones. So here are some real life examples and how the ladder really works in real deals. So let's put all of this together with some real numbers so you can see the creator pricing ladder in action. Example 1, you might like to think about a TikTok UGC video for a small brand. The base rate for one strong 15 to 30 second UGC video, £250. A 30-day paid ads usage, you add another £200. The raw footage files add another £150, making a total fee of £600. Now for a small brand, that is still very professional and fair. They get a clear asset, they get ad usage and the raw files. You get paid properly for the work that you have done and the rights accordingly. Now, example 2 may be a sponsored Instagram reel for a mid-sized brand. The base rate for one reel, £400. 3-month usage on social and ads at £500. 60-day category exclusivity, you could think about adding £300. And then 2 additional cut downs add £150, giving a total of £1,350. Brands regularly pay for this level of fee for well-produced content that performs and comes with clear rights. So now if you use this ladder as a checklist every time a brief lands on your inbox, you then can ask yourself, have I priced my content accordingly? Have I priced the usage accordingly? Have I priced the exclusivity properly? Have I priced all of the extras? And also, of course, have I communicated this like a professional? So if this video has helped you understand pricing more clearly, tap like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments if you would like me to break down pricing for specific niches such as beauty, fitness, gaming, or B2B, or whatever your particular niche is. We've also got templates or calculators to plug your own numbers into this framework, and just let me know that as well, because I read everything and I want creators to be paid fairly for the value they bring. That was the Creator Pricing Ladder by Gordon Glenister.